Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to News Dose. So what the Xbox Series is doing right now is actually pretty amazing. Microsoft on an earnings call yesterday did reveal some updated numbers for the Xbox Series, and not only is it beating out its competition, but what's kind of crazy about all this is just the beginning of the Xbox Series. Yeah, I've said it before, but the future of the Xbox Series is looking very bright, so we'll talk about that a little later on in the video. And also, a highly anticipated PlayStation 5 update that just released has left some fans a little disappointed. I'll kind of go over that one here in a little bit as well, plus plenty more. Per usual, if you do find yourself enjoying the video, go and hit that like button below, plus go and hit that bell notification and subscribe button as well, so you can keep up to date with all of the latest gaming news. Other than that, though, let's just go and get right into things, starting off with Sonic Origins. Of course, here recently, we did get an official release date for Sonic Origins, as it will release on June 23rd of this year. But ahead of that release, Sega went ahead and decided that they're going to go ahead and delist several individual Sonic games. This includes Sonic 1, Sonic 2, Sonic 3, and Sonic CD, which will all be delisted on May 20th. Now, if you do already own these games, don't worry, you will still be able to download these games even after they delist these titles. And it's also important to note that while you'll no longer be able to purchase these games, Sonic 1 and 2 can still be played through the Sega Ages ports of each game on the Nintendo Switch, and then Sonic 2 is also playable through Nintendo Switch Online through the Sega Genesis game offerings. So do keep that in mind, but if you were looking to buy these games individually, maybe you don't want all 4 of these titles, and you just want to try out one, unfortunately, that just does not look like it's going to be the case starting May 20th. Instead, you will have to buy Sonic Origins, though. Hopefully, Sonic Origins will be the definitive version and the best version of these games yet. That is kind of what we're hoping for as of this moment. But, well, I guess we'll see here soon enough when Sonic Origins releases on June 23rd. Next up here, it's now been spotted that Sony is putting together some type of game preservation team, and speculation is running rampant right now for what exactly this game preservation team is, and this is really interesting considering we are heading into that PlayStation Plus Premium, which does have a pretty big focus on retro style of games. We'll kind of get back to that here in just a moment, but this has been spotted thanks to Garrett Fredley, which has let it be known that he has now been hired as the senior build engineer at PlayStation, working as one of their initial hires for the newly created preservation team. So with that, we do know that Sony is forming some type of preservation team here, though what exactly they do, well, that kind of remains to be seen. Garrett Fredley did later on state on Twitter that for anyone asking what game preservation is, what I do, I did a GDC talk a few years ago on the subject when I worked at EA. My work is similar, although larger in scope. To be determined on whether I'll have much of a role to play personally in any emulation work, although I'll share what I can if it comes up. It's only my second day. So on one side, this doesn't necessarily confirm that Sony is working on any type of emulation for the PlayStation 5. There has been a lot of hope that Sony will get PlayStation 3 games to work locally on the PlayStation 5, and that is where this story gets really interesting, because on one side, again, it's not necessarily confirming anything, but the timing of all of this, it just feels like one big coincidence. We do know for a fact that one of Sony's big selling points for PlayStation Plus Premium is retro games, and unfortunately, especially with the PlayStation 3, those games can't be played locally on the PlayStation 5. Instead, you have to stream those games, which is not an ideal situation for a lot of gamers out there. So with that in mind, the hope is that Sony will figure things out and get PlayStation 3 emulation working on the PlayStation 5. In fact, there's even been rumors from some pretty credible insiders out there, such as Jeff Grubb, that PlayStation is working on PlayStation 3 emulation for the PlayStation 5. So when you start to put everything together and you kind of look at this preservation team, you just have to kind of wonder, is Sony cooking something up here in terms of emulation? I think while we can't necessarily confirm that, at the same time, I feel like this is a pretty good sign that at the very least, Sony is taking preservation serious. Let's go ahead and talk about Xbox though, because what they are doing right now is pretty amazing. Now, I've kind of talked a lot about this in the past and just how incredible it is to see how far the Xbox brand has come in just a 5-year period. You take a look back at 2017 and there was a legitimate question out there on whether or not we would ever see another Xbox console again. So you fast forward for just 5 years over to the Xbox Series and see how much success it's having. It is incredible to see what they're doing, but not just because of that, but because of all of the different hurdles that they're overcoming right now in the industry. That right there is what we're going to talk about today, because we did get some more results for the Xbox Series thanks to a new earnings call made by Microsoft. So this is coming directly from the Microsoft CEO himself, Satya Nadella, which revealed that the Xbox Series just had its biggest non-holiday quarter ever for Xbox revenue. He also revealed that the Xbox Series was the best-selling new generation console in the United States, the UK, Canada, as well as Western Europe as a big surprise last quarter. So right now, the Xbox Series is actually outselling its main competition, being the PlayStation 5, which for a lot of people out there, that would have been a big surprise heading into the generation. And in fact, about that, it was also revealed that the Xbox Series has gained global market share for the past 2 quarters in a row. Beyond that, Xbox hardware sales are also ahead of expectations, and Xbox Game Pass hours played are up 45% over the last 12 months. So everything is booming right now for the Xbox Series. And again, this just kind of shows you how different this generation is compared to what we saw with the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One. The competition is going to be fierce this generation, but that's kind of the amazing thing about this, because really when you start to look at things, it's really only the beginning for the Xbox Series. So far, they've had to overcome some pretty serious hurdles. Yes, the Xbox Series is breaking records right now for Microsoft, and it is their fastest selling console, but it technically could sell even faster if they had more supply. So you always have to kind of remember that. But again, this is just the beginning of the Xbox Series. The fact that it is selling as fast as it is, the fact that it is selling out the way it is, and we really haven't even gotten into their big exclusives yet. Of course, we've seen them acquire a lot of studios in recent years, including Ninja Theory. They've acquired Obsidian Entertainment, Playground Games, Bethesda. They're trying to acquire Activision Blizzard. And so far, we haven't really seen that pay off for them just yet. It takes time to make games, but as we head further into this generation, we are going to start to see those studios drop their exclusive titles that will launch directly into Xbox Game Pass day one. You take a look at Starfield that will be releasing later this year. That's going to kind of get things, I think, kicked off for Xbox. And then after that, with them just having so many games in development, there's just going to be this snowball effect. It's going to roll faster and faster and faster and faster as it gets closer down to the bottom of that hill. It's not going to be like last generation where Xbox only has a few exclusive titles. No, they are going to have an absolute ton throughout this generation. So again, the fact that the Xbox Series is selling as fast as it is and selling out the way it is, it's amazing considering we haven't even gotten into those big games as of yet. I think right now what we're kind of looking at is peak Xbox. I feel like Xbox has had some pretty good consoles in the past. I think that the original Xbox was a good start. The Xbox 360 for a long time, that was viewed as their best console. Then the Xbox One, that was, well, we know how that worked out. But now here with the Xbox Series, it feels like they've taken everything that they've learned, and now that they have the full backing from Microsoft as a company for the first time in Xbox's history, it feels like that they can truly do something special, and we're seeing all of that work pay off here. I think that they're going to set some new precedents this generation, and I think that they're going to continue to surprise a lot of people out there and just how competitive they can actually be. We're already seeing it, but I really feel like that this is only the beginning. I think what we're ultimately looking at here is what will end up being viewed as the best Xbox console ever made as of yet. Either way though, big congrats to Team Xbox on their major turnaround for the Xbox Series, and I'll be very excited to see how they continue on with that into the future. Alright, so we also got an update on a highly anticipated PlayStation 5 update that we just talked about yesterday, being variable refresh rate. This really is a game-changing feature if you have a VRR-capable display. Unfortunately, though, Sony's implementation of VRR on the PlayStation 5 has run into some problems, which we'll go over today. Now, if you don't know what variable refresh rate is, or otherwise known as VRR, basically what it tries to do is smooth out unstable frame rate. So if it's not a locked 60 frames per second, and if it's jumping down between 50 to 60 frames per second, well, VRR is there to save the day. It kind of gets rid of those stuttering problems that we've seen in games such as Elden Ring. Honestly, VRR was a savior for that game because VRR has been available on Xbox for a long time, and it really showcased that with Elden Ring. With that said, though, this is one of the reasons that there has been so much excitement for VRR to eventually make its way over to the PlayStation 5. And well, the good news here is that VRR is now finally available on the PlayStation 5, as we talked about yesterday. And if you do have a VRR-capable display, you can go ahead and enable that yourself. But apparently, it's not quite that simple. Yeah, I do have some very unfortunate news, as it is now being reported that several displays are not supported, even though that they are capable of VRR. Yeah, so based off of what I've been seeing, it doesn't look like PlayStation 5 implemented VRR support the same way that the Xbox Series did. It does seem like it has a problem with AMD FreeSync support, and because of how Sony is handling VRR, several displays are reportedly not working with this feature enabled. It's a very unfortunate situation. There's an entire Reddit thread over this. I will leave a link in the description below, as it does show several displays that are currently working, and then also several displays that are not working as well. As an example, the entire BenQ product line, apparently they just don't work with VRR enabled on the PlayStation 5. However, it does look like the newer popular LG OLED TVs, those are working with PlayStation VRR. So again, just go ahead and hit that link in the description below. That way you can check out the entire list. What I will say though is that I definitely think that this update is very disappointing, especially when you consider that Xbox has had this feature available for like 4 or so years by this point. You would think Sony would have had this ready for the PlayStation 5, but here we are seeing them have problems with their implementation, so hopefully they continue to improve this, and for all the displays that currently aren't working, hopefully they'll get those working sometime in the near future. Now, one other thing that we're going to talk about here just real quick would be the PC version of Uncharted Legacy of Thieves Collection. Now, we've known for a while that this game is set to release on PC sometime in the future, but as to when, that right there is the big question. But, well, that actually might have leaked out online thanks to a very interesting source, being Epic Games themselves. They did post a blog post where they listed Uncharted Legacy of Thieves Collection with a June 20th release date. Now, keep in mind, this is not a confirmation or anything like that, and since that original post, Epic Games has edited their blog post, and it no longer says June 20th, and instead says coming soon to PC, so we'll kind of see if this is the actual release date or not, but it does seem to be a little specific. Epic Games might have accidentally let the release date slip out here. I guess we'll just have to kind of wait and see, but it is really cool to see Uncharted Legacy of Thieves come over to PC. I'm still a little iffy on this because I believe that they should have released the original Uncharted trilogy as well, because all of these games tie together just so nicely. But still, we are getting Uncharted on PC, which is cool nonetheless. These really are some of my favorite games of all time, and if you haven't already played these games, definitely do so. Let's go take a look at the poll of the day, though, and yeah, we are going to go back to variable refresh rate again, as I did ask you all, with both the Xbox Series and the PlayStation 5 now supporting variable refresh rate, do you have a VRR-capable display to take advantage of this feature? And actually, a lot of you all do have a VRR-capable display, with 33% of you saying yes, while 49% of you said no, and then 11% of you said not yet, but are looking to get one soon. So this is actually a pretty nice percentage of you all that can take advantage of this feature, and again, it really is such a game-changing feature. Frame rate is a very important thing, and whenever it's not stable, it can just kind of hinder your overall experience. So that's where frame rate comes in, and for some of these games that aren't locked at 60 frames per second, I mean, VRR, it can do wonders. We see Digital Foundry do this all the time, where it'll say, like, well, this game is running like 4K resolution, but it's running like 56 to 52 frames per second. And everybody kind of is like, oh no, that's terrible. But again, if you have that VRR display, it just kind of smooths that out. And because you also have 4K resolution, it just looks absolutely beautiful. So I do think that this is one of the better features available in some of these more modern displays, and that's all the more reason that I hope Sony fixes their implementation of VRR in the future. Based off the results here, it does seem like more and more of you all are getting into those VRR displays, so hopefully here sometime soon, Sony will fix their implementation of VRR, and well, if you do have an Xbox Series, it looks like you're pretty good over on that end. Anyways though, that's it for this episode, but if you liked the video, don't forget to bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.